Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's Business Spotlight. I'm your host, Todd Rodden. I'm a certified executive business coach. I own Aspire Action Coach based in the Dayton, Ohio area. And when we want to welcome all first-time visitors to the Business Spotlight, we hope you enjoy this message here today, and also encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you'll receive future messages from inspiring entrepreneurs like you're going to hear today. Today, I'm thrilled to have Stash Geleszinski here with us. He is going to share his very diverse entrepreneurial journey here with us. Stash is a commercial real estate broker. He's a co-founder of an AI startup. He's a real estate developer, and he hosts his own podcast. So not sure what he does in all his spare time there, but he juggles all those from a business leadership standpoint. So Stash, take a minute, introduce yourself, talk a little bit about some of the businesses that you're focused on.
Yeah, absolutely. Todd, thank you so much for having me. So yeah, my name is Stash, Stash Geleszinski. I'm the managing director of Capstone Company's Cincinnati office. I'm also a partner and a founder of an AI software startup called Nedl, where we're working to predict commercial real estate transactions. I'm doing a redevelopment of a 6-unit apartment building here in Cincinnati. And I also host a podcast called the Stash Cast. So yeah, I've got a lot of things on my plate, and then, I'm married and have 2 kids. So life keeps me busy for sure.
So you've got a big presence in many different facets of mostly commercial real estate. So
Yeah.
how'd you get started in commercial real estate, and what's the fascination there?
Yeah. Yeah. So my mom was a residential agent, and, I figured out that real estate was a thing. And unfortunately, she passed when I was younger, so I wasn't able to work with her. But uh, I figured out that commercial real estate was a thing, and I was like, well, I'm going to go do that. And, I had a couple of other jobs before getting into it, and I don't know. The beauty and the downfall of commercial real estate is that nobody tells you what to do, which is great for me because I don't take well to authority. But that's the downfall of it too, is that nobody tells you what to do. So it took a while for me to get started, and eventually I caught my stride. I had subscribed to some coaching programs that had been really helpful for me. And then, kind of once you get momentum, as long as you keep doing those basic actions, you're going to keep your momentum going. And that's what I found. I grew a team, started off with just 2 other guys, and we've been together for about 10 years now. And then, I was in being a broker and in being in sales, right? I'm sure you've had this. Anybody who's in sales, I'm sure, has had this experience where you're doing your calls, you're prospecting on somebody, and, hey, Todd, I see you have 20 properties. Are you interested in selling any of them? It's a very basic intro. And you're like, no, we're not doing anything. We're good for now. All right, great. I'll talk to you next month or next quarter, whatever it is, And then all of a sudden I see you pop up with a listing with a competitor, or I see that a sale transaction comes through on the comps. And it's like, I just talked to him. Like, what am I missing? So what I found is that if I called you and say, hey, Todd, I'm calling about Quail Run. I have a buyer for that property. Are you interested in having a discussion? You'd be much more receptive to a conversation. And you might say, not that one, but maybe Stony Brook Commons is actually, we're thinking more of selling that one. Okay, well, we could pivot to that. And so the thought was, we have all this data behind us looking backwards, rental rates, occupancies. There's nothing that looks forward. So I remember very distinctly, I was, walking on the sidewalk. It was a cold winter day. And I was like, what if you could use this data and analyze it and try and predict which deals are going to trade before even the owner knows. That was the ultimate hypothesis. And so I had a friend come to me, uh, who I've known for 12 years or so. And he said, "Hey, Stash, my partners and I have a background in software. We want to get into value add multifamily." And he had this whole deck put together. And I was like, "That's a great idea, but you and everybody else. But what about this?" I was like, "Since you guys have background in software, what about this?" And I pitched him on the idea. And he's like, "That's interesting. Let me think about it." He went back, talked to his other partner. We had lunch like the next week, and they're like, "This thing has legs." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." Like I I about fell out of the booth. I was like, it was just, somebody was like, "Yeah, I could see we could do that." And, I'd spec some money on it, trying to figure out how to do this. And the guy, I was working with, he's like, "Yeah, it's going to cost a lot of money to get there." But these guys, my partners now, Maher and Tiag, they're like, "Yeah, we can definitely do this." So we started off with, testing the hypothesis. I had to get the data team up to speed with how commercial real estate works. Um, and what I've seen in my chair as a broker, is there are some telltale signs, like changes in rental rates, changes in occupancies. A loan maturity is a dead giveaway that somebody's got to do something. As well as some ownership behavior patterns. There are some owners that just never sell, and then there are some owners that are in and out of deals within 3 to 5 years. So, we talked about all these things, and what was kind of not the epiphany, but the start of it is they would spit out some Excel sheets to us, and we tested a bunch of different markets with my friends and other shops and other offices. And what I remember for myself is that I think they gave us like 20 leads, and 7 of them were somehow in play. Either we had it listed, a competitor had it listed, it was under contract, something like that. And I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." Uh, I wouldn't say it was as easy as shooting fish in a barrel, but it definitely made your prospecting so much easier. Because it's like, "Hey, Todd, I'm calling about timber trails." "Oh, that's so interesting you're calling about that, because I was just," or, "I'm not surprised you're calling about that because we're suffering with occupancy," or whatever it is, right? Um, and so we then embarked on, okay, let's build a platform around this. And so we hired some UX UI designers, and they've put a couple of drafts together. We've got a website, and we're right now in our beta testing phase. So it's been a whirlwind. It's been quite some time getting to where we're at. But, for a long time, I wouldn't talk to anybody about it, because you don't want to be that guy where it's like, "Yeah, I'm doing this thing," and then nothing happens. So you keep it under your hat for as long as you can. And then when the time's right, you say, "Hey, this is what we have. We have essentially a fully baked product." Um, and so we started beta testing it back in the fall, in September. We applied to and were admitted to Centrifuge, which is a Cincinnati-based startup accelerator. And then they introduced us to Alloy Development, which is another kind of startup incubator based here in Cincinnati, Hamilton County. Um, and we're just plugging away. Last week, I was at a conference where myself and 5 to 8,000 of my closest friends were there, and had some great meetings there with some prospects and some prospective partners, and just plugging away. It's exciting, but it's a lot of work. So it's good.
You mentioned it's got to be a lot of work. So how do you juggle that? Making the time and the energy to focus on nedl, your technology startup, compared to running all the other parts of being a commercial broker and developer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm lucky in that they're all somewhat related. I feel like doing the active real estate deals, whether it's a development or a value add existing asset play, that actually makes me a better broker because I'm more able to speak the language of the prospects and the clients I'm calling on. Like, oh, how much are you paying for cabinets? Where are you getting those? You have a good plumber. Um, uh, and with Needle, with our team being based mostly overseas, we tend to have real early starts. So I get up at 4:45 in the morning. I go to the gym, and then we usually have like a daily call at like 7, which it's aggressive, but that is what it is. And then with my brokerage team here, um, I've told them, I'm like, guys, I have a lot going on, and I just have to be as efficient as I can with my time as possible. And so, it's actually nice because it's forced me to delegate, whereas previously it's like I'll just do it on my own. And you can be a decent all-around player, but it's like, okay, just focus on what you're good at. And for me, that's front end prospecting. Go out and bring the business in. And I've been lucky enough to surround myself with some guys here that they're great at the other parts of the transaction timeline that I'm not as good at, the details of things. So, it's I'm handling it by having a good set of teams around me. And that goes also with Needle as well. My partner Maher, he's super okay, let's break that down. He can see and hear my big idea, and he can be like, okay, let's break that down into actionable steps to actually get there. Whereas I can be like, what if we did this? And he's like, you can't do that to the rest of the team because they they need to, have some direction. And I'm like, okay, my bad. It's only recently occurred to me that not everybody thinks the way that I do. So for better or for worse, I guess.
So as you look ahead with Needle, what do you see as like the biggest roadblock or two that's out on the horizon?
Um, yeah, I mean, we're working on getting our data ironed out so that we can actually go to market and be live and, start monetizing the product. So that's a challenge, but it's not insurmountable. Um, and then I really just see execution, and steering it appropriately. As we look around the other prop tech startups that are in similar spaces to what we're doing, they're raising lots of capital, being sold or acquired at very big numbers. And, I think it's just, I think our advantage is that I'm the user. I'm the ideal customer profile. Um, I'm a commercial real estate broker who sells apartments, and I'm trying to get, additional market share. Those are the exact people that we're trying to sell to. So I think we've got a unique perspective from the sales point of view, and then also from the user point of view. Like, it's super easy to use. It's there's not a whole lot of point and clicks. Within a couple of clicks, you log in, you see the login screen, and then you click down, you see the leads, and you can go to work right away. It's any salesperson's dream prospecting system.
So you mentioned, hey, you're based in the Cincinnati area. Be a lot of viewers hear this from all over the U.S. So how you see Needle scaling out, more broadly beyond kind of this particular region?
Yeah. So we're actually in a startup accelerator right now called GrowthX. And I'm spearheading that initiative as well. And we're focusing on that exact question, the ideal customer profiles, things like that. But really we've designed it for investment sale brokers, um, acquisition people, asset managers, um, You have syndicators who can fall into that bucket as well, who are maybe smaller partnerships, maybe not full-time professional equity. And then interestingly, we've had a number of other like real estate and data companies come to us. So I think those are our 5 initial targets. And then real estate developers, at some point, we're going to get to land sales. But, looking at expanding fully through the multifamily vertical, through different offices, as well as bringing on companies at a time. And then expanding into the other food groups of commercial real estate. You have office, which is, in a transition period right now, retail, self-storage, industrial, which self-storage is kind of a subgroup of industrial, and retail and hospitality as well. So there's a lot of opportunity here. We just need to be very focused on executing well within the vertical that we've chosen. And then we can appropriately expand out from there.
But you see the model being repeatable in different markets. I can just hear some long-standing real estate agents saying, "Well, but our market is different than where you're from."
That's
How
great.
your analytics
I
work.
honestly, I would welcome that, because I don't need to sell it to them. I'll sell it to the guy that's been trying to get in and has been trying to get access to his market or her market. And then I would love to see that person take full advantage of the solution and take market share from them. And that is exactly what I think is going to happen. Because it's not built for the top guy in the market. They're not going to use it. They're not going to be the first adopter, because they're like, I already know everybody. Why do I need your solution? It's built for the guy that has been knocking on the door and keeps losing, but just needs that leg up.
Use that to get the beachhead and then go from there.
Exactly.
Exactly. Good. Hey, shifting gears a little bit about team. You talked about, hey, during your time as a commercial broker, building a team there over the last roughly 10 years. Now you've got this startup that you're building out. So, how you thinking about team skill sets with the startup with Nedl?
Yeah. So, that's a good question. I wouldn't be here. I just had an idea. you know, it's really my team who's built out the whole solution. A lot of these calls that we're on at 7 a.m., it's like, it's Greek to me. Some of the things that they're talking about. I'm picking it up at this point, but having a team who can, it's one thing on a brokerage team, right? Like, I started and I could do everything, right? I could underwrite, I could cold call, I could manage a deal, so on and so forth. But this is completely different. So like, we need data scientists, we need people that are in charge of building the models and keeping the models updated. We need somebody who can untangle all the data. We need somebody who can design a user interface that is easy to do, easy to use. We need somebody who can be in charge of marketing and pushing all that out. And then we need somebody who's going to follow up with the leads and have demos and then onboard people. And it's a team effort, as much as anything. It's amazing. So
At this point, are you mostly tapping into third parties and contractors, or you build it?
predominantly, yeah. We have, through my partners, we have some related businesses, or he has some related businesses that they've been able to lend resources. So that's been tremendously helpful, getting us to where we're at. So yeah, it's mostly third party contractors. But once we get our capital, once we get through this first round, I think the plan, and we're in a position where we can start selling the data or selling the solution. with the data that we have. I think at that point it's okay, we have to bring on salespeople, probably one to start with, somebody who understands brokerage, commercial real estate, transactions, things like that, who can speak to the brokerage community, because that's our primary group that we're going after. And then from there, expand appropriately.
So where do you see this going? It's 5 years from now. You step back, what's your dream for where the business will be?
You know, I think I told Maher last week, I'd love to ring the bell on the stock market. The opening bell, that would be amazing. Um, Maybe we get acquired before that. I don't know. But you know, ideally, it's grown into such a beast that allows for, I mean, I'm going to jump ahead. What gets me most excited or inspired is the prospect of building this and really making something that is um, new and different and really has a substantive change on the business and the way the industry is. So it's like the money is definitely, you know, an attractive thing, and that's, you know, the carrot that you chase. But also, if you can create something that is going to be that much of a disruptor, I think that is just as like that's what we're aiming at, and that's what we're chasing.
Good. I like that. So looking back now, you're in the startup mode. You got all this other experience in the commercial space. If you were starting over now, what do you wish you know? What do you wish you knew then that you know now and you can tell yourself?
Yeah, it's a good question. Um, you know, I think about this. I don't know if often is the right word, but I've thought about this question. What do you wish you could do over, essentially? Or, you know, what do you wish you could tell your younger self? And part of me, as I mentioned at the top, I was, you know, kind of generally unemployable elsewhere. I wish I wouldn't have been so hard-headed and stubborn, and just allowed myself the liberty to sit back and not have to be um, the leader, whether perceived or actual, and just learn from somebody else who's done it. Like you don't have to be the icebreaker all the time, but I have taken that. that's that's my MO. I have one speed. It's on or off. Two speeds, actually, I guess. So, you know, what do I wish I could have done differently? Um, Taken some opportunities to maybe learn and mentor under some others who had extended the offer, and I was either too proud or too I don't think stupid's the right word, but too proud to take it, maybe.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's very common, right? I mean, especially early on in your career, you're trying to prove yourself.
Yeah.
You actually want to demonstrate, hey, I belong here. All right. And
I think there's a lot of pressure on young people. You know, you look at Mark Zuckerberg, right? Like the guy was a billionaire by the time he was 25 or something. I don't know what the number was, but and you're like, oh, I want to be like that. And it's like, that's not, you know, his path is not your path. Um, and I think that, you know, comparing yourself to others is a poison, you know, and
yeah,
it's seductive to do, but you can't do it. It's a losing path.
it is. It is. For sure. So as we look to wrap here today, Sash, what's the best way for folks to stay connected with you and to keep abreast of what's happening with Needle?
Yeah. So our website is nedl, nedl.us. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on there under Stash Geleszinski, Geleszinski. Zinski. I have a podcast called The Stash Cast. You can find it on Spotify or wherever podcasts are sold. You can find me on our Capstone website, capstone-companies.com. Just Google Stash Cincinnati, and I'm sure you'll find me.
Stash in Cincinnati. So I appreciate you taking the time out to share your story. Great lessons learned.
Thanks for having me, Todd. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it. It was
an
fun.
interesting mix of, continuing to grow your commercial real estate brokerage business, but then launching this startup that has the potential to really scale across the entire country. So exciting, but a lot to juggle.
Yeah.
So again, encourage folks, take advantage, reach out, get connected to Stash, check out his podcast again, the Stash Cast, and continue to learn from him. So he talked about a learning he had is, hey, maybe earlier in a career, listening to others, learning from others. So you got a great chance to connect with him and learn from him from what he's taken in through his journey so far. So again, for our viewers, we hope you can, like this broadcast here today, and also subscribe to the channel so you can receive more messages like you heard from Stash. So again, Stash, thanks for joining us. And to our viewers, thank you for joining us today. I hope you all have a terrific rest of your day.
Thanks, Todd.